Hey guys, I'm Fidel1258. Today we're going to talk about survival mode and how I believe this actually answers the problem of Chaos Legion. There's a lot to say in here and it's not a perfect mode, but I'm excited for what this will mean for our game and I want to unpack it today. This is a clip from a recent members only live event, and if you want to be present when I actually record these live and be part of the conversation, then check out my members page on YouTube, support the channel at whatever level you see fit, and you'll be invited to my weekly lives. Thanks to the members, thanks to you guys. Have an amazing day. God bless. Thoughts on survival? Great, Paul. Thanks, pal. Because I do think it's a good idea. Survival mode, as described in the post, which I read and by the Splinterlands team YouTube live, which they described quite thoroughly. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. And I go, one of the main considerations to me, it seems to me that the biggest consideration is definitely the reality that, certain card assets in this space have long been thought of as overpopulated and undeserving of value. Like people say Chaos Legion is worthless. No one's going to want it. What a garbage set. They printed way too many. It was a huge mistake. It almost killed the game. And the critique of it is scathing. And then comes survival modes as a suggestion and an answer to the problem that many of the community voiced. I think it's reasonable to say 9 out of 10 people in Splinterlands have espoused on some way and some level that there was an error with Chaos Legion and the amount of packs sold was a problem, and it created, issues on so many levels. I think even the team says that, and that's how they've approached, how they've changed their sale model, how they don't do sales at all, like no Christmas sales on, for instance, Rebellion or whatnot. So I think even the team thinks Chaos Legion was mishandled. And so most of our community thinks Chaos Legion was this gigantic problem. We voiced that to no end. And then I think survival comes in and says, wait a second, I've got an idea. Survival mode will literally resolve the issue of these cards are overprinted instantly. And if once we see any sort of significant SPS return, and this is ultimately the proof, everything comes down to, from an investment perspective, everything comes down to reward versus, startup cost. Now, the game of Splinterlands, we just talked about, the game of Splinterlands isn't entirely about reward, but survival mode is going to be more of a conversation around reward. Yes, it could theoretically be an avenue for players to enjoy the game more, and it will be that a little bit. But my hypothesis is that survival mode will be almost entirely bot run, and it'll be, meaning Xbot will be running those accounts, and they will be using assets that are the most economical to play the most often. And so that is obviously Chaos Legion. And so my point is that, one, there is a pathway to play in that sort of mode cheaply and affordably without much time or commitment. Xbot, Chaos Legion. And two, that path will be chosen or walked by any and all who value SPS, because there will be SPS paid and glint, we think, from participation in that mode. And so I'm of the opinion that many people will want to play it, but that only certain people will really thrive at it. Because I think you need a really deep deck. For instance, if you lose half your matches in a regular rank season, right? That's probably accurate for most people. For, let's see, my Splinter Coach data, I can tell you. I'm above 500. My look at this. My lifetime record is 517. So I'm above 500, but barely. And so what does that mean? Well, it means if I go into that sort of rank mode where it is survival, I'm going to lose half my games. And if I lose half my games, my summoner is immediately out. If you want to play 20 games a day, which would just be normal participation in a regular rank mode, and it's not even, there is no energy limit on survival. So you could conceivably play 1,000 matches in survival. But listen to this. If you want to even play 20 matches a day, you need to imagine you're going to lose 10 summoners a day. To be feasible and functional for 15 days in a season, you're going to need to have probably on the low scale, you're going to need about 200 summoners, 200 viable summoners for the league level that you plan to play at. How crazy is that? Guys, how crazy is that? Because I don't actually think the people that want to play in that league are going to want to stop at 20 matches a day, by the way, right? These people, if there's a steady stream of SPS, and again, I'm thinking of it more, this game, league mode, I'm thinking more of as an investment. And therefore I'm really trying to calculate at this moment, not the entertainment, but just the financial opportunity. And I'm saying there's an easy access with cheap chaos cards, and I'm saying XBot makes the time not a factor, and then I'm saying we already know that the SPS rewards are like you literally can play as many matches as you want. Cards are your own limiter. All that means you need like minimum 200 summoners that are viable. If you're a Diamond League player, Champions League player, you're telling me you need probably 20 copies of Lily Shield Paw, 20 copies of Frendel, 20 copies of Quixodevious, 20 copies of Immortalis. My first 9 summoners are all Chaos Legion, by the way. My first 9 summoners that are played the most, that win the most, lifetime, are Chaos Legion summoners. Even in more recently, Chaos Legion is dominating my top 20. And so clearly Chaos Legion are powerful, effective, and worth the investment if there's financial opportunity from them. So then again, you're talking like every player that wants to succeed at a high level needs to buy 20, 30 copies of every one of those Chaos Summoners. And that's not a good idea. We're not excited about that. Like that is so powerful to me. It's so powerful to me. The only critique I can bring to this conversation is this. Well, there's several little things, but the core critique that I think I could bring to this conversation would be, are people going to have to buy these cards, or they already have them and they're just going to use them? Because you might say on one hand, they're going to have to buy them and that'll be exciting for the marketplace. But a critic of my argument might say, no, Dwayne, they're not going to buy them. Many people have way too many copies as is. Look at your own account, Dwayne. If I go to, and I do have a lot of them. Let's look at my cards. Chaos Legion, Summoners, and let's go. I have 12 max Summoners that are legendary, that are from Chaos, that are maxed. 12. Totally inadequate. I need to 10x that at least. Now, I know I can add in rares. Let's add in rares. I'm going to count all of them. These are level 2 Summoners. Okay, that's 31. That's all my rares and my legendaries. So yeah, I'm like a relatively big whale in this. I mean, by most people's standards, but it's not even close to enough to have like a meaningful success in something like that. So pull that back. Are people going to have to buy cards to play in this game? Most people who want to are going to have to, if they want to, if the rewards are meaningful. That's the question again, because I'm not looking at fun. I'm just looking at investment opportunity, because this feels like more of an investment conversation than fun, because it's definitely going to be botted for the most part. It's also going to be just for certain audiences that literally could play. If I told you could play 1,000 battles in Splinterlands today, you would say, I need a bot. Like, you're not going to be able to do that. It's hard enough to play 24 matches a day. So it's going to be for the player who has investment dollars, not necessarily for the one who wants to just play, mostly. And that means we need to ask the question, is it going to do anything for prices? Because are they going to go to the market to buy these things, or do they already have them? I think there's probably a combination thereof. Like, I think, again, if there's no energy and no limit to your play, then there's no ceiling to how this opportunity ends unless you have limitation on cards. And so I do absolutely believe it'll draw investment dollars towards Chaos Legion. I think that is true. But I also would believe that there will be some who will just ride what they have, and it'll just become a new vehicle for sort of extraction from assets they already have. And to that, some people would say that's a critique. They would go, see, well, like lots of those accounts are just going to have them. They don't need them. They're not going to create new buying pressure. Therefore, it doesn't work. Therefore, we shouldn't pay them SPS for that, because that's an SPS inflation and that's going to hurt the price of SPS. That's all reasonable logic, except for you're forgetting the card price conversation for any token in SPS or in Splinterlands, for any NFT in Splinterlands, is going to be a calculation on supply versus demand. So Chaos Legion has massive supply and they have limited demand because almost everybody has a sufficient amount of them. But in this moment with this new mode, we're talking about increasing the utility and therefore affecting the demand, driving demand up to some extent, or at least holding demand at a certain threshold. I think driving demand up makes sense, but I also think even holding demand is a bullish thing for card assets in Splinterlands, because lack of sale on these assets means a tightening of the market, means the price appreciation. I feel convinced that once we see survival mode in effect, we are going to recognize the price appreciation on assets as a positive thing. And people like Nico, who are very upset because they came in 2021 when Chaos Legion was launching and they bought packs that were way more expensive than they are today, are going to start to see a glimmer of hope for those assets. And massive whales who have huge dollars that they would have thought previously, I have no way to enjoy this game, will have a pathway into it. And that matters, man. I said in a recent live, maybe my recent public live, I said, we should want to appeal to players that are brand new and they're small fries, and lots of them. We should also want to appeal to massive investors. And that would be the best approach for the success of Splinterlands. And I think survival mode is definitely approaching that whale audience. But I think all of the recent new NPE stuff around everything from like the mobile experience to, even some of the new rule sets or the legends and how they change the meta, all of these different things are affecting how the new player and the smaller person and new free to play, by the way, all these, there's lots of things for the NPE, and there should be things also for the big whales, like the $11,000 gold foil auction card. You know what I mean? That's my view on it. To me, survival mode is bullish. It speaks to a tightening of demand, a tightening of supply because increase in demand. And that is exciting. And we've complained about Chaos Legion for so long. This is part of an answer. I'm surprised there's such pushback. Paul says the main issue most people have with it is why this mode now when we should be trying to get new players. Fair. And see, this is a very logical response, Paul, and I get it. That's the thing I saw in probably 3 different comments, what you're alluding to here. Yeah, I did a post talking about survival mode. See, Dehoda said, sharing my thoughts on survival mode, and he essentially said, like, I don't see as black and white, but survival mode bad for new players and only good for long-term whales. We're all in the ecosystem. If assets increase, people will come. So he's positive about survival mode. And I said, I haven't weighed in on survival mode in Splinterlands. Is Splinterlands divided? Why? This is a great idea. It will sell cards, pump prices, and increase attention. So that's what I said. And then let's look at the comments. Erroneous. 1/3 of our economy for cheaters and whales. Nope. I'm voting no when this comes up. It's supposed to be a game, not a place to run cheating programs, bots. It should be regional boss fights. If people don't want to play, this is the sentiment that I hear you saying, Paul, right here, this last bit. If people don't want to play or don't have time to, then they don't need to put their money. They need to put their money elsewhere. And there is already plenty of passive options for people to do that without ruining the game for others. They're different veins, but I think it's in the same conversation where we go, why are we focusing on something for passive options for cheaters and whales? Pretty harsh. But I go, not cheaters, people who are literally operating within the ecosystem that as is approved, right? Operating bots in Wild is not cheating. Operating battle helpers in Wild is not cheating. I think that he's being needlessly harsh. But I think the point here is stop focusing on whales. Create a game for people who want to play the game. And that's true. Why can't it be both though? That's my point. Why can't it be both? Why can't it be both that we're focusing on the little person that is starting and we're doing that? Like free to play is now present. I just signed up a new account and you can play for free. I created it and I'm playing games and that is already present. So that's a huge upgrade. Then the mobile experience has been greatly improved. And I do think meta evolution with new cards is part of the new player experience. I think also it helps whales, but I think that's part of how this game stays enticing to new people. And so those are 3 real exciting things that are helping sort of the smaller fish. And I do think that matters, but I also think we can't say that we should never want to turn away big money. And so sure, it's a balance. And if we get too distracted on creating things for one audience, then we're gonna ignore the other, and that's a path, or that's a problem we're gonna always have to sort of oscillate between. I agree with you. We should be fixated on getting new players, but then I disagree with you in that my perspective is that whales participating in this space are players, and that's not language most people would say. Like Erroneous in his comment on my ex was implying that a whale who buys cards in this space and turns on a bot is not playing the game. I disagree. That is playing the game. I'm confident you agree that Splinterlands is more just than a collectible card game with an auto brawler mechanic. Splinterlands also has the general manager mode, which is literally you spending your budget on the cards you can afford to build the best deck possible. The general manager mode is literally what I'm talking about when I say the whales are playing the game. So if a whale comes in and drops 10 grand on cards today, or 20 or 50 or 100 grand on cards today, because they're excited about what survival might be, that's not some whale. That's literally part of this game. And we don't do it that way, like me and you. That is part of the game. And so the game that they're playing is comprehending and calculating the reward potential, comprehending and calculating the investment setup cost, weighing the pro versus the con, considering the pathways forward. Are there ways to augment costs or like mitigate costs or augment profitability? That's all thoughtfulness that's like gamified in Splinterlands that makes literally, that's part of the game. And whether you're doing that with $5 a week or $5 million, the same is true that it is literally part of this game. And so when we say things like, and you didn't say this, Paul, but when others imply or erroneous in the comments say, the whales aren't playing the game. No, man, yes they are. They're playing it differently than we do. But that's not bad. That's like, don't we want people to buy these assets? Like what? But to your point, do we want to focus on that aspect to the detriment of game design? No. Can we just take a breath on that and just watch them do what they say they're going to do and see how that works? I am confident and excited about it. I am certain it will drive SPS price higher, card prices higher, and draw new players. And I think it might be perfectly timed within the context of the broader bull market. Have an amazing day. Okay, guys, bye for now.